Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 25, 26, and 27 of the Untamed. So I'm watching three. I'm watching three this go around. It is freezing cold where I'm at right now. So I have my Cowboy Bebop blanket wrapped around me, and I have my piping hot tea. So I am in the most maximum comfort level about to watch the Untamed. And it's 3 episodes, so I was like, I need to be comfy. So why not? But yeah, so like I said in the last reaction, I was told that 26 cuts off like right at an awkward moment going into episode 27, and I was like, that's not going to work. So I figured it up today, and I think that I can time it just right where I can do episodes 25, 26, and 27, and then the rest of the season will be all 2 episodes like normal, except the final episode, the final reaction will be episodes 48, 49, and 50 together. It'll be the final 3 together. So that'll be fun, right? The last 3 episodes of the Untamed together. What fun. So that'll be a great time. And then I'll have the 2 movies after that. And while I'm watching the 2 movies, I'll be finishing up the novel. So it'll all work out. I'm pretty excited about that. But I am excited to dive into 3 episodes. It's going to be crazy. But, yeah, so Wuxian's getting set up. Like, all the seeds are getting planted to make Wuxian look bad. I'm like, why are we doing this, Yao? But I know why he's doing it. And everything is, it's all coming into place, right? And so lots of things under the surface are getting brought up. So very, very interesting. And Ruhan's dead now. Ruhan's dead. Yao's been promoted. Everything's all hunky-dory, right? So it seems. So I'm very curious. As I'm reading the novel right now, I'm just to the Lotus Pier. So I'm like just a little bit behind, but I feel like by the time I end this series, it's going to be about the same time as the novel because we haven't done Yi City in the Untamed yet, so that'll take up some time while we're making up for lost time with the novel. So it's been a fun experience watching these 2 side by side and seeing just how much the Untamed actually does take from the source material and then what all it kind of transitions and transforms around it. So I haven't had a chance to look at the comments yet for the last set of episodes. I haven't got a chance to look on Patreon at the comments for those yet. So if there's anything that stands out, I'll note it in the comments. But I had time this evening and I was like watching 3 episodes of this in a row and recording. I was like, I have time now. I need to go ahead and watch it. And then I'll answer the comments from last week's episodes very shortly after that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, y'all. I hope y'all are too. Last set of episodes, I was fangirling pretty hard. I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm pretty excited to see what all happens with these episodes. So let's dive in, shall we? Let's not waste any more time. We got a lot of episodes to get through. So with that being said, we are going to start episode 25, 26, and 27 of the Untamed. We're at the halfway point, y'all. Here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. These episodes were so good. These were so good. These were my favorite out of all. These 3 episodes may be my favorite of the whole series so far. We're halfway through at this point. We've crossed over the halfway mark of the story, and oh my gosh, I love these episodes. These were so good. I have so many notes. Where do I even start? Oh my god, episode 25. Episode 25, y'all, I was dying. Absolutely dying. The expressions, everything. I can't wait to read this in the novel. I can't, because right now I'm just at the Lotus Pier burning in the novel. So we still have to get through all this. We gotta get through Yanli's death. It's just, Zixuan's death. Oh my gosh, we still have those to deal with. No. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, but the thing of it is that the Untamed is giving us all this, like the Donghua, before we get to the latter stuff. So we're gonna hit the latter stuff while the novel's still going on with this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Zixuan! We're going to start with episode 25. We got a lot to talk about. Zixuan is so... He's just awkward, like maybe sweet. He's just so awkward. It's like in the Donghua he was like tsundere, and he was like, I'm not in love with Yanli, but I really am. And in this he's just awkward. But he's so sweet, and that run when he just ran away, dead, killed me. So of course, Daddy Jin expected Wuxian to hand in the tiger amulet after the hunt. So the whole banquet hall situation and him getting Chang to go get the amulet for him, that just saved him the trouble of asking for it. It just saved him the trouble and put all the pressure on Chang. So it's like, Daddy Jin just trying to get what he wants, right? God, the people under the targets, the wind people under the archery targets. Oh my gosh, that was awful. And Yao's just like, there's a part of me that doesn't exactly know when Yao's smile is really Yao's smile or when it's a facade, right? Whether it's the customer service smile or he's being genuine. Usually it's just the customer service smile, but that was just awful. And I liked Zixuan's flying technique. He's like, well, we won't hit him. You just fly up in the air and shoot him from above. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's like, look at you, Zixuan. And then, of course, because it's Wuxian, he has to show them all up and do it blindfolded and hit 5 arrows at a time like freaking Robin Hood. Of course he does. I like that Chang's hairstyle is slowly transitioning. Like, Chang still has enough youthfulness left in him that he looks youthful in these episodes, but you can tell there's like that transition. Like, he smoothed back the stray hairs. It's looking more and more like his adult hairstyle. Oh my gosh, when Wuxian said, he's like, I thought you were my lifelong confidant, and Wanji's like, I still am. There were so many moments in these episodes of Wanji and Wuxian's like yearning for each other that I'm like, Yibo, Zan, you're breaking my heart. What do you want me to do with this? And then Wanji's like, I've been getting my music better to help you. And Wuxian's like, you're just trying to convert me away. And it's like, no. But yeah, Zixuan being the peacock, Wuxian defending Yanli, and the whole thing about the 30% of the prey caught in the nets. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Ling back at the very beginning of the series, where Ling catches all the prey in the nets and Wanji goes around cutting all the nets. It's the same deal. Wanji goes around freeing all the people and prey from the nets because Ling caught too many. That's what it reminded me of. It was very interesting. And then there's a whole talk about capabilities. It's so sad because Wuxian, in a lot of regards, has no choice. He's like, my capabilities, I have to use the flute. I have to use Qing because I don't have a choice. I can't cultivate like I normally did because of what's happened, because of what Chao did. And so it's like Wuxian's back's up against a wall. He doesn't have a choice. It's so sad. And then there was that sign, man, Zixuan is like, Shushan, I'm like, dude, his like actor is like so good, but he's such a prick. And when I thought there was a connection between Wuxian and Yao, like the whole son of a servant thing, because he kept calling Wuxian like son of a servant, and that kept reminding me a lot of how Yao is always like the son of a prostitute. Like that is a connection between Wuxian and Yao that I think is pretty interesting. And then Yanli just being a freaking boss, like girl, just straight up. I loved watching Yanli like just. It's so much better than Donghua in this. Like Yanli just being like, excuse me, I'm going to stand up and say what everybody else needs to hear. And it's like, girl, just being a straight up boss. And then I'm sorry, that just, you have Yanli being a straight up, that whole scene, you have Yanli being a straight up boss, and then who shows up together out of the blue? Why, it's Xichen and Yao. Like, they've not just been making out behind a tree for the last 20 minutes. Oh my god. Just them showing up and it being ridiculous. Madame Jin is, she's kind of like, she's very similar to Madame Yu, but she's like, I'm going to talk about it later, she's kind of like poisoned honey. Like she seems sweet when she talks, but then the things she says, she's like, my son's an idiot. And it's like, well, and then, you know, she tries to like smack talk. She smack talks Yao pretty much because, of course, she's like, you can understand why Madame Jin would not like Yao because he's a constant reminder to her that her husband cheated on her. So, of course, she doesn't like Yao at all. But she, like, kind of smack talks Zixuan. She smack talks Wuxian. It's like, And then, yeah, oh my gosh, Madame Jin, yeah, like poisoned honey. And then Zixuan just running away. It was just as good in the Untamed as it was the Donghua. I absolutely love it. And then Xichen's side expressions. Zixuan, I've been watching Xichen this whole set of episodes because his actor, the side expressions that he gives, like during certain moments, are amazing. Episode 25, Xichen's expressions that whole episode were amazing. They were just so hilarious. They were killing me. And then, yeah, Chang missed it all. Bless his heart, Chang just got the short end of the stick all 3 episodes of this set, but Chang missed all of it. And I love that Wuxian's like, well, you kind of had to be there, so... And then at the very end, I absolutely love that Wuxian, he only says goodbye to Wangji. He doesn't say goodbye to anybody else. Just Wangji, and Wangji's like, well, you picked the right person to say goodbye to. But yeah, Chang overhearing the whole thing from the other clan members. And the worst part is about all that is that I think Chang wants to defend Wuxian, but it just hurts him because they're all talking about how the Jiang clans, all of their triumphs have been because of Wuxian and not Chang. And it ties back to his childhood. It ties back to Chang hearing about, Feng Min praising Wuxian. And it ties back to Wuxian getting all the praise like in archery and other things. And Chang just can't catch a break. He's just always in Wuxian's shadow. Even like throughout the banquet hall scenes. And then we'll talk more about Chang and his actions in that. But it's just so damn sad. And then there's that big meeting between Qing and Wuxian out there, like in the village, and like she just looks like Princess Jasmine strolling through Agrabah. And I felt so bad for Qing. She just wants to find her brother, right? And then we end episode 25, of course, with the infamous scene of Wangji telling Xichen that he wants to bring a man to Gusu. And Xichen's like, gee, I can't imagine who. As if it wasn't obvious. Sure. And then he doesn't want to come. They didn't say that part of the line, but it's like, and he doesn't want to come. Ugh! So good. Episode 25, the midway point of this series was chef's kiss. But you know what else was really good? Episode 26. Holy crap. Okay. I had probably the most notes about, well, I say that. I had a lot of notes about all this. But episode 26... going into 27. I'm glad that I watched episode 27 because how dare they, even though this cut off at a really horrible time too, how dare it? I could not have stood it if it cut off at episode 26 and I had to wait. No, I'm glad I watched episode 27. Absolutely. But yeah, so Sushi shows up. I'm glad I recognized him. It's like the first time I've recognized him in this whole series. Maybe because he had subtitles telling me who he was. But he shows up and Xichen's kind of like, yeah, this is kind of in poor taste that you invited this ex-Land Clan member and sat him conveniently right across from us. It's like the one time that Xichen actually calls Yao out on something. Usually Xichen is like defending Yao to the ends of the earth. But the one time he calls it out, it's kind of like a gossipy, like, you set this clan member next to us? Isn't that kind of poor taste? I mean, don't you know the gossip? And Yao's like, oh, I didn't know, but you know that he knew, right? But yeah, just the idea of Sushi getting involved, and I find it fascinating that Xichen and Wangji are like, this is awkward. Like, it's probably like the only time that Xichen actually shows kind of like, not pettiness, but like a little bit like, really? You had him come? It's like, And then Huiseng! I love Huiseng's like, come sit with me, Chang! I know a lot of people ship Huiseng and Chang. I don't really ship Chang with anybody. He kind of strikes me as not really into anyone. But I do love that Huiseng is a friend. He's like, come sit beside me, Chang. It's like, it's really cute. Like, Huiseng's actor did a lot of cute little micro expressions in this episode that were really nice. I liked them a lot. So then, yeah, Daddy Jin is the worst. The absolute worst. Like, I don't think you can get much worse than Daddy Jin. No. Because he tells Chang, he's like, oh, you have your father's personality. I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? He is nothing like Feng Mian. I love Chang, but he's not like Feng Mian at all. And then later on, Daddy Jin's like, oh, well, you're different than Feng Mian. I'm like, make up your mind. For someone that claims you were besties with Feng Mian, you really know nothing about him. Because that's Daddy Jin. He's all talk, right? So then, yeah, oh my gosh, the drinking scene where Zixuan tries to just get them, Zixuan trying to get Xichen and Wangji to take the drink out of the cup. And Xichen is nice enough to do it, but the moment he goes to Wangji, I'm like, Wangji's not drinking out of that cup. Hell no. No. For one thing, you brought the cup. It's like not even his own, glass, but no. And then the moment that Wuxian like walks over and takes the shot from Wangji and takes it instead. So good. So good. So good. That whole banquet scene, it was just like, it was like, oh my God. It was like Yao was trying to host a party, and then that one person that's going to come and start drama walks into the party, and Yao's like, oh my God, it's all going to go to hell. And it did, and it was great. So Zixuan talks about taking Ning away, and that Ning was taken somewhere, and Wuxian has clearly come there on behalf of Qing to find out where her brother went. And it's like, okay, gotcha. And just... the bridge conversation. This is basically the bridge conversation, only it's not. So it's interesting. You have this kind of, it's going to mirror later on. We have the bridge conversation where Wuxian and Ning show up and Ning kills Zixuan. This is like a precursor to it. It's almost like a foreshadowing of that bridge conversation that's going to happen later on. It's kind of fascinating. I really, really like it that we're setting that up. There's like a subtle foreshadowing to it in this scene, especially with, Zixuan, does not like Wuxian. Like, there's no foreshadowing there. It's just text, right? But it's neat that we get this setup that's going to come back and be mirrored later on. And, oh my gosh, just Wuxian's whole crashing of the party and him becoming the YILING patriarch, I absolutely love it in this. I really do. And we've not gotten to that part in the novel yet, so I'm very curious to see Wuxian's transition in the novel. We're getting in the novel right now, we're getting bits and pieces of it, because right now at the Lotus Pier burning, there's all this anger and hatred and fear and resentment building up in Wuxian during those scenes, and the novel kind of expresses that. But here, what I love about these 3 episodes is that Wuxian is still Wuxian, but his temperament and demeanor is slowly transitioning. It's like he's transitioning from adolescence to adulthood, but because of the resentful energy, it's altering his mood. It's making him like the tension that Wuxian was just about to take on everybody in that room, and everyone was terrified, and Wangji was like, calm down, and then he's like, and he threatens Zixuan, and he's like, fine, I'll tell you where he's at. And he's like, that's all I needed to know. Thanks. Could have told me that from the start and saved me from getting mad. And it's like, it was such a good scene. It's so damn good. I love that banquet scene. There's so much tension, and the actors all do such a good job, and just Zan killing it as Wuxian. Absolutely. I can't do enough chef kisses for this set of episodes. It's so good. And then Qing is still beautiful. Even when she's like covered in bruises and dirt, she's still gorgeous. But I love in this that, like I said, it's still Wuxian. So when he goes back to Qing, he's back to being his normal self again. And I think a lot of that is because Qing reminds him of Yanli. Like, he has like a sisterly... I never shipped Qing and Wuxian in the Donghua at all. I always thought they were more like siblings, like BFF and siblings, like the found family sort of trope. And you get that in this episode, that he just respects her and he loves her, but like as a sister, and wants to help her. So it's great. But what's not great is when we get to all the wins and everything, but we're not there yet. So Wangji goes to go get him, to go get Wuxian, going to the bridge to get him. And Yao, God. So I've got my notes here. I'm looking at them. So Wangji going to go get Wuxian, and Chang stayed. And that's the thing we talked about in the Donghua. I remember we all discussed this in the Donghua at the time. But Chang feels so obligated by the fact that he's the leader of the Zhang clan that I feel in a lot of ways Chang restrains himself from doing what he wants to do. Like, you could tell in that moment, Chang wanted to go help Wuxian. He wanted to go find him and help him. But he didn't because he felt like he couldn't. Right? Whereas Wangji's not the clan leader. He just pieces out, and he loves Wuxian. And so I always feel like Chang has this jealousy towards Wangji because he feels like Wangji can up and leave and go help Wuxian and be with him, and Chang feels like he's obligated and cannot. So it's interesting. But yeah, and then Zixuan offering Yao the hanky to like dab his clothes. Show, you're not subtle. Just not subtle at all. No. Ugh. And then yeah, we go back to Wuxian helping Qing look for Ning, and we get the flashes of Yuan with the grandma, and God, It's so sad. The composition, the choreography, and the not animation, but like the cinematography of that whole rain scene of looking for Ning in the rain, it was so tragic. And I think if I didn't know what was going to happen, it would have hit me like a ton harder. But it was still so sad. And the moment that she sees his back and knows it's him, ugh. And then the flag, the symbolism of the wind flag stabbing through him, like the fact that he was a wind is what killed him. It's like, it's so awful. And yeah, and the Jin men stating that they were killing winds and that they couldn't tell. And just the YILING patriarch coming in with the rain, showing up with the rain pelting him and like the flute playing. Like, it was so, the lighting, it was so gorgeous. It was awesome. And then Ning shows up kind of as a puppet. I get that for censorship's sake, they can't say he's a zombie, that he's resurrected. They try to justify it through like 5 different means, but doesn't matter. He's basically, it's our cinnamon roll zombie Ning, but it's just, oh my God. And he wasn't under his control. The resentful energy was, he couldn't control him, which is also a nice foreshadowing of what's going to happen with Zixuan later on when Wuxian can't control him then. So it's a nice, again, this whole episode was foreshadowing how things very well could not go Wuxian's way, right? And then, of course, I thought that only one guy got away, and he was the guy that was going to go tell the Jins all about what happened. But I guess he was the only guy that gets away because the others are part of the Wind Clan that are with Wuxian. And then Wanji just showing up with the beautiful umbrella that looks like it has the ink blot through it. It's gorgeous. Just showing up, pristine, untouched by mud, not a speck of mud on his robes at all, despite walking through tracks of mud on the way there. Like, man is ethereal. It's a freaking elf. And that whole showdown between him and Wuxian in the rain, it was so good. It was so good. And Zan, Wuxian crying, and Wanji crying. And then, yeah, Wuxian rebelling against orthodox practices, and Wuxian saying, he's like, my promise was to stand with justice and live without regrets. And he's like, this is what I have to do. And he's like, Wanji, I have to keep my promise to each other. And Wanji crying, it's so well done. It's so well done. And Wanji still stands up for him. Later on, we get this in episode 27. He still stands up for him. But yeah, so Wuxian saying to Wanji, and this is right before Wanji cried, Wuxian's like, he's like, I want to live without regrets and have my sense of justice. And he's like, and if that causes me to be hunted down by you all, then so be it. He's like, but if I was killed by you, it'd be worth it. I'm like, why are you doing this, show? Why are you doing this? And then, yeah, Wanji sobs. He has his catharsis in the rain. It's gorgeous and sad. And then we go to the burial mounds. And it's so creepy and twisted, but when Wuxian tells that guy, he's like, oh, it'll be fine. I haven't lived here for 3 months. We're old friends now, me and the burial mounds. It's like, like at this point, the YILING patriarch is pretty much cemented. Like, once they start building houses, I'm like, he is the YILING patriarch at this point. When Daddy Jin is like, yeah, Wuxian's like broken away from the Zhang clan, it's like, pretty much, because he feels like he can't be a part of it anymore. And then, yeah, they put up the barriers. And we go back to the discussion, and it's just Daddy Jin loves to put people on the spot, and I hate him for it, because he puts Qing on the spot, and basically insinuates, like, if you don't do something about this, are you really a leader, or was it really all Wuxian's doing that brought your clan fame again? Like, he's basically suggesting, like, we've heard rumors that Wuxian was the only one that really contributed to the Zhang clan's reputation during the Sunshot campaign. So if you want to prove us wrong, you need to do something about this. And it's just like putting Qing on the spot. I hate it. I also thought it was interesting, the conversation, because Qing tries to stand up for Ning and Qing, saying that they've spilt no blood, and Mingzhu calling them cold watchers. That was so interesting, saying that, yeah, sure, they didn't do anything harmful during the war, but they didn't do anything helpful either. He's like, they just kind of sat back and watched. They were neutral. They didn't fight for any side. So he's like, how is that any better? And I'm like, ugh! But yeah, the idea that because they did nothing, he's like, why should we feel bad for them? It's not like they took a side and they took our side. They didn't take any side at all. So what did they expect? That's what Ming Ju's suggesting. And it's interesting. But then I like that Wangji, because Daddy Jin was spreading a lie. Daddy Jin in episode 27 was talking about how everybody was, Wuxian was slandering Chang, and I'm like, the last person Wuxian would slander is Chang. And Wangji stood up for him and was like, no, that's not true, you're lying. And then nobody else stood up except Mian Mian. Mian Mian, my girl, I forgot that we got this point, like, right here, right now, but I'm like, her taking off them robes, the Jin robes, and being like, screw this, I'm done. And I felt bad because Zixuan was like, no, you're my bestie, don't leave. Like, you could tell that Zixuan was sad that she left. And I was like, oh, man. But yeah, and then Wangji leaves. And again, there's that setup there that Wangji leaves because he's mad and feels like he needs to go and respect Mian Mian for her decision. But Chang is obviously upset because, you know, Wuxian's being put on the line as maybe betraying the Zhang clan. And then Chang can't leave to go defend his brother. He has to stay there and be the clan leader. So he's kind of, you know, between a rock and a hard place. And then, yeah, that's when Daddy Jin, I put my notes here. I put in a little box, I put hate. Because I was like, because when he's like, well, you're different from Fang Mi. And I'm like, 5 minutes ago, you said he was exactly like him. Hate Daddy Jin. Absolutely loathe him. Will not feel sad when he comes to the fate that he comes to. Just saying. Won't feel sad. Mm-mm. But yeah, Chang tries to defend. And it finally comes to the conclusion that he's like, okay, I will go confront Wuxian and, you know, he'll be fine. He's not the traitor you all think he is. He's going to hand over the tiger amulet. It's all going to be great. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And then, man, Kieran, there's so much that happened in these episodes. So much that happened. I was like, oh my God. And then we get to Kieran. And Kieran having the conversation with Wangji about their parents, about him and Xichen's parents, being like, I raised you like my son. I want you to follow the right path. I don't want you to end up like your father. And Wangji's like, are you saying my mother was evil? And it's like, because his mom, in the Donghua, his mom killed someone, was rumored to have killed her teacher. And she had to go into seclusion because of it. But her husband, Wangji's father still loved her. And I mean, they had Wangji and Xichen despite it, so... And Kieran just wants him to not end up like... He's likening Wuxian to Wangji's mother and Wangji to Wangji's father. And he's like, I don't want you to end up like your father and pursue somebody that's going to have all this drama. And it's like, the apple don't fall far from the tree. Just saying. You have Xichen and Yao and you have Wangji and Wuxian. Apple doesn't fall far. Just saying. But yeah, and so the idea of choosing the right path. And that kind of ties back to Chang's whole deal with Wuxian about choosing the right path. And Wuxian's like, for me, this is justice. And it's all going to come back in the wash later, but I like that the seeds of so many things are being planted in this episode. It's really, really good. And so, yeah, Zixuan and Yanli, like, God, bless his heart, you awkward peacock. Like, finally grows somewhat of a backbone, and Yanli's like... I'm actually glad that Yanli did not go to the burial grounds, because I think that would have been too much. Would have been too much. And I don't know, with all the resentful energy and stuff, I could see that of going awry somehow. I don't know. But I felt bad for Chang, because then even with Yanli and Zixuan, you know, Wuxian would stand up for Yanli and defend her, and Chang was like, I can't really do anything. And so here, even now, Chang really can't do anything. It's like... He's just kind of powerless, and it sucks for Chang, right? And so then we have all the talismans. We have the talismans, and we have Wuxian, Ning, and Qing all together. And I really like this part of the Donghua, so I'm really happy that we're getting this part too, that we're getting to see them all together as like this big found family. And Yuan is precious. He's too precious for words. When we get to the point of Wuxian and Wangji with Yuan, I'm going to lose my mind and fangirl so hard because he's just the most... Him as the turnip when he's playing him. And Zan playing Wuxian being like all fatherly to him. It's so good. It's so good. That moment of him playing him like a turnip, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is This is all I wanted. I don't know what else I expected, but I love this. But yeah, and then of course Qing enters. He enters using, gets Zidian to knock down the barrier and enters the burial mounds. And he's so elitist about it. He's like, oh, people are going to live here? You're going to grow food where there's been these corpses buried? I'm like, well, technically it's like compost. It's kind of like the best place you can grow vegetables. So, it's morbid, but I'm just saying, biologically speaking, this is actually a pretty good place to grow crops. I'm just pointing it out there. But yeah, and then that line from Wuxian, when people are hungry enough, they'll eat anything. I love that line. It just, yeah, it's so good. There's so many good lines in these episodes. And then Wuxian getting mad. He doesn't get mad at Qing, but he's just kind of like, when Qing is like, they thought that these were all a group of rebels you gathered together, but it's just the elderly and women and children. They're all just useless. And Wuxian just being like, useless, huh? Like, it's like just this clan of people, kind of like, when Lotus Pier burned, were they just useless people too? Like, oh God. It's so good. It's so good. And then, yeah. And then Wuxian, he's like, do you doubt me too? Do you really think that I took the yin iron to make this amulet? Do you doubt me as well? Like, you're my brother. You're supposed to trust me. We're supposed to be the twin heroes. And if you can't trust me, without trust, there is no love. It's like Moulin Rouge, right? So, I can't believe it ended there. I can't believe it ended there. These episodes were my favorite so far. By far. By far, these are my favorite episodes of the series. I absolutely loved these. I cannot express to you the fangirl heart of mine. I haven't watched the Donghua I haven't watched season 1 of the Donghua really since it came out. And season 2, I haven't really watched it since it came out either. So it's been a good 8 or 9 months since I've watched the Donghua for seasons 1 and 2. Maybe even 10 months. It's been a while. So it's been a long time. So seeing this, and I intentionally didn't want to go back and watch the Donghua because I wanted to watch this and for it to be fresh. But now that I've watched it, I want to go back and rewatch the Donghua now to relive these moments too and compare them to the Untamed. And then I'm so excited when we get to this in the novel to compare it as well. So this is so good, y'all. These episodes were absolutely wonderful. I'm glad y'all convinced me to watch the 3 in the row. But next week, we'll just have episodes 28 and 29. We'll just do those 2, right? We'll just do those 28 and 29, and then 30 and 31. And I was told that 32 and 33 go together, so luckily we'll be able to watch those together as well. And then I think from then on in, we're good. So, yeah, I am very curious to know your thoughts down below. These episodes were just chef's kiss. Brilliant. So, toasted me up, warmed me up. I'm so happy, but I am excited to hear y'all thoughts as well. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with episodes 28 and 29 of The Untamed.